Hey y'all, before we get rolling, if you run a nonprofit, this is for you. Comfy Stone just released a free 90-day donor retention checklist to help you keep more donors through authentic storytelling. Get your copy at comfystone.com/checklist or click the link in our show notes. Now let's dive into this week's episode. Welcome back to another episode of Missions by You. Today we're in a different bayou, St. Louis, Missouri, and I am joined by Grassroots Redeeming Love. Today we have
Taquera Walker, board president.
And my name is Ginelle Bess, and I'm the founder and executive director.
Grassroots Redeeming Love is a nonprofit dedicated to serving underserved neighborhoods and residents in St. Louis in the wake of last year's devastating tornado. Welcome to Missions by You.
Thank you.
So let's start with, what is the mission of Grassroots Redeeming Love?
Yes. So Grassroots Redeeming Love is a nonprofit organization here in St. Louis, Missouri. We are completely ran and operated by 100% volunteers. We're all committed to a selfless service through a love that is sacrificial, unconditional, and transformative to North City, St. Louis post-tornado and beyond. Our mission is to stand alongside and serve the underserved. And for us, that's North City, St. Louis. I think that they got hit the worst. And so we're just here to fill in the gaps as long as we can, however we can, as best we can.
So for those who aren't familiar, can we kind of start with how you guys were founded and more about the tornado itself that happened last May, correct?
Yes. So the tornado hit on May 16th. It was an EF3 tornado, May 16th of 2025. And it was just a regular Friday for me. We were actually supposed to meet after she got off work. We were supposed to have our first dinner together after meeting through mutual friends. And she was actually caught up in traffic for hours and hours, and we just couldn't make it happen. But when the tornado hit, I was actually on my patio, and I knew something had happened, but I had no idea it was a tornado because the sirens didn't go off. So North City wasn't warned about the tornado. So I did feel like debris and stuff in my eyes and stuff, and I did have to go inside. But again, I had nothing went through my mind like, oh my gosh, a tornado just hit. So I went on about my night. I was still waiting on her, but she couldn't make it. So I feel bad, but I went out with another friend. Okay. Went out. And then the next morning I went to work. And so I work in a very wealthy part of St. Louis, Missouri. And so I noticed that they had fallen trees and stuff like that, and that city workers were already out there picking up stuff. And for some reason, my mind immediately went to North City. And it's not really a neighborhood that I was very familiar with, but I do pass some of those neighborhoods that we were serving to go to my beauty hair supply store and stuff like that. And so I just decided I'm going to get some trash bags and some waters and just drive until I see devastation. And it didn't take me long, and I couldn't turn a blind eye to it. But I think we were founded just because, not to be religious, because I'm not religious, but I just feel like this is God's work, and I feel like I was called to do it, and I just answered a calling. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah. Like Ginelle said, we were supposed to meet up for dinner that day, and we were in the Foundry, actually, and I think we got a notification on our phones, and so we just kind of stayed in the parking structure. And when we got out, we usually go up page from work. So we drive city to county every single day. And we hit, really the first street we hit, we could not continue to go forward. And the traffic continued to get pushed further, and everyone just was in Forest Park at that point. And we were in Forest Park for about 3.5 hours, just sitting there. And at one point I got out of my car because I was like, I'm gonna just kind of see. And I walked forward up to Lindell, which is another pretty, on Lindell, there is a lot of wealthy homes, lots of big homes, lots of money. And Forest Park is a park, lucky us, we just got voted #1 park in the United States. It's a beautiful park. It has lots of wonderful trees. I walked up to Lindell, and almost every tree looked down. Like, you could see straight through Forest Park, which is not something you could do ever. And there was, nobody knew what to do. There were lights out everywhere, and there's only one street that wasn't blocked that all of the traffic was going up. And so we were just kind of sitting there for literally hours. And then, as gracious as Ginelle is, Grassroots Redeeming Love exists because of her. Like, a lot of small individuals went out into the city despite what the mayor said, which she said, don't self-deploy. And lucky for us, people in the city said, that doesn't make sense. There is people are in need, and I don't know how deep that need is until I get out there and see it. And Ginelle was one of those people who got out there immediately. And because of her action through social media, showing people what was going on, other people decided to show up and to come out and to support her as well. And so when she says volunteer, she really means that. Like from the beginning, it was literally her in trash bags and water, and that became dumpsters and people piling bricks, and it became people showing up day in and day out. I showed up to do things that felt trivial at the time, but some of those elderly residents, it was the first time that they had cell phones. And so I was putting minutes on phones, and we were calling insurance companies. And one of the families was so grateful to Ginelle's work that they wanted to throw her a barbecue. And so I called my mom and I was like, can we get some barbecue grills? I put together barbecue grills so that they could be grateful to the work that she was doing, even though she, in that moment, still felt like she wasn't doing enough. We all felt like we weren't doing enough, which is why we continue to advocate through the city that we still need more support.
Yeah. I just want to start by saying heavy on the grassroots.
Yeah. Heavy, clock it, heavy.
But that, being from New Orleans and living through natural disasters, those little moments really make the world. Because when you feel forgotten by your city, by your state, by the federal government, someone helping you call your insurance company, someone coming help and just clear debris from your yard, because like it feels overwhelming, or maybe you physically have limitations like these older residents, like someone just coming and being like, I got you. And though, you know, it sounds like it might have taken like just a few hours, and it's like nothing to us, but like means the world to people in those moments. And it's disappointing to hear that more of that isn't happening, and that people in government are saying, don't do that.
Yeah. That was really disheartening at the time. And I think I'm really grateful to some of the bigger organizations. Shout out Action STL always. Because they know how to organize. And so they also were able to get people who didn't know what to do to be able to be like, oh, I can just drop off groceries. I can bring this thing. I can go take these tools to someone. And providing that community support is also what Ginelle was doing, because people didn't know what to do. But Ginelle just showed up and said, what can I do for you? And then put out the call, and then people were able to answer that.
Yeah, and then people can meet you where they're available, right? So maybe I can't give 4 hours on a Saturday to pick up degree, but I can do a grocery run,
right?
And I can bring groceries to somebody. Like I can take that hour and do that. So I want to, again, being from New Orleans, I'm trying to kind of wrap my brain around county versus city. When we first talked, you were talking about how sirens, and you just mentioned it as well, the siren in the city didn't go off, and so only people along like close to the county line would have heard sirens, correct?
Yeah.
Can you give our listeners just like a little bit of like, if you don't mind, history and explanation of like where that county line, city line is, and like how that all works, and maybe go into how that affects what happened the day of the tornado?
Where do I start? I mean, in reality, you could start with, right, Missouri. We are in Missouri, if people don't know that. St. Louis, people like to say St. Louis is a blue dot in a red state kind of place. But the reality is we are Missouri. And so Missouri was a slave state, and we're along the Mississippi River. And that means a lot of things, because when people say the Delmar Divide, for instance, that starts at the Mississippi River, right? That starts all the way in the city and runs through the county. And so when we talk about this city-county divide, what we're talking about is not just, you know, when you drive, you're in the city, then you're in the county. We're talking about money that's completely separate, right? We're talking about government that's completely separate. The city has a mayor, and the county has a St. Louis County executive and a St. Louis County council that votes on things sometimes and gets things done rarely. And then the city has a mayor, which does other things. And so there's sometimes complete separation, including police. We have a St. Louis City Police Department, and then the county has lots of police departments within these smaller, they would consider themselves cities. Within these smaller cities of St. Louis County, they have their own police departments. And so when we think about history, if we start at a slave state, right, that means segregation and redlining and creeds that literally say Black people cannot buy land south of Delmar, which means that when white flight happens, when white people decide they don't want to live in the city anymore, they don't want to live near Black people anymore, they start moving south where Black people aren't allowed to go. So then the city becomes not invested in. Black people get pushed further north. So North City, probably 99% Black. North County has probably 70% Black residents, right? And so historically, Black people have continuously been pushed in those directions and then not invested in the environments, the schools. We were recently at a residence home on Enright, and I grew up 3 doors down from there. But my elementary school was in Clayton because our elementary schools aren't invested in the city. And so these communities, while there were times where they were thriving, didn't get the investment that they deserved and needed, which led us to now the sirens didn't go off in the city. So there were people literally just driving.
Mm-hmm.
One of our residents was in his car as the tornado was happening.
Last summer, we worked with a nonprofit who does tree maintenance. And a woman I interviewed ended up talking about the tornado and saying how she was working on someone's house. And then there was a crew on scaffolding on these people's house.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, hey, guys, you should get down.
Mm-hmm.
I think something's happening.
Something's happening.
You should get down. And so they all had to just run into this person's basement. And thank goodness she called them and was like, we should go and seek safety.
Yeah.
I also want to talk more because I had to do some research and better understand this government. Because in Louisiana, a city and a parish, the parish government and the city government work together. But here it seems like it's separate and there's no cohesion on all right, we're going to work on this together. It's very much that line is drawn in the sand and they stay on opposite sides. Yeah. So I actually talked to one of my friends that's a professor and a sociologist, and he was like, this is happening in other cities where, because I was like, what I understand is city left county years, 60, 70 years ago. And now to your point, we talked about white flight, moving those resources and those tax dollars out of the city. And now you have a city that does not have enough tax budget to support all the things. And then county being like, well, I'm just going to turn my back over here.
Yeah, that's what they do. Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah. And I think something about Grassroots Redeeming Love that is really valuable is a lot of our volunteers. I saw a comment on a post recently about why haven't the North City residents done this, that, and the third? And a big part of that is people not knowing who the people are in North City. That the residents that we worked with couldn't have done 90% of the things that we did. Mind you, we didn't even know what we were doing, but 90% of what we did, they couldn't have done on their own. And our volunteer population is from the county. These are people that probably have never stepped foot in parts of North City until they decided to come and volunteer with us. And that is so important to us because while even I live in the county, I grew up in the city and I understand how important it is that if the city doesn't thrive, then the county isn't thriving, right? If you go to the city for a baseball game or a blues game or anything, then you should want the places you're going to be accessible and beautiful and thrive just the way that the space where you live thrives. But because people weren't coming to North City and because sometimes people don't see the value in putting money into all of the places that exist, this is what we run into. People saying, well, it's the city's problem, or why don't these individuals have more home insurance, or how come they can't figure it out on their own?
That blame game.
Yeah.
In that conversation with my friend, again, we were talking about Katrina recovery. And we have Lakeview in New Orleans, which is a very wealthy neighborhood, and the Lower Ninth Ward, a lower income neighborhood, both equally devastated, and how the money and the resources from state and federal were pushed towards Lakeview, and how even things like applying for grants and funding, there was just more accessible. They were handing out the brochures. They were telling people in Lakeview about it. So it's anything that might exist that might be an option for these residents, if they're not being told about it, if no one's coming to that neighborhood and saying, tabling and being hey, we can help you get access to this. Hey, we can put you in touch with so-and-so for this. How are they going to do anything?
Yeah, that's a big part of Grassroots Redeeming Love, just us filling in those gaps, because that's what the city was doing. They were hiring a bunch of people to fill these positions, to make up committees to service North City, but they weren't doing it in the right way. They were putting it on the news or having links and numbers to call. And I'm like, you guys, they just experienced a tornado. They don't even have a roof.
Yeah.
And most of these people, the phones that they have and the service they have is because of our community was donating to my GoFundMe at the time, and I was able to purchase phones and phone service, and we had volunteers coming out helping fill out the applications to get them the resources they need, because although the city is putting out these resources, they're not putting them out in a way that they're accessible to the people that they need to be accessible to.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a systemic thing. It's not meant, it's like for show. Like, I'm going to show you, like, hey, I'm putting stuff out, but you can't get it. Like, but at least I did it. I put it out there, and I just feel like I've learned so much in this work that I was just so oblivious to. It's pretty disheartening, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And, you talk a lot about the government separations. If we, again, think about being in Missouri, right, our state and federal government hasn't stepped in or stepped up in the way that they definitely could, right? Like, I think FEMA just demolished the first home that was in their application.
Because, like, we've been
on their ass, honestly.
That we have.
That's my language, but like we send emails, and we luckily have a lawyer who is like, I'm not going to sit around and wait, because people need to be supported. And so she helps us with the language, and she helps us to make sure we're advocating for our residents, because people deserve, if they want to be back in their homes, they deserve to be in their homes, and they deserve to be told what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's difficult to be in a space where we know we need bigger support. We know we need federal support. We know we need state and local
this
support.
Work isn't sustainable without it.
And it's difficult to rely on those people.
Was North County also hit in the tornado, or more city?
It's more so, for sure, the city.
Yeah, I don't really... so Lindell, like I was saying, is more of a wealthy space. If you go down Lindell, there are still homes that don't like fully have their roof repaired and things like that. Mind you, those are like very old homes with very like specific kinds of roofs. So
and they're also multi-million-dollar homes.
Yeah, so it's kind of different. But I would say, North City and Forest Park, I think, were two places where you can really still see the devastation. If you walk through Forest Park, there are plenty of just like tree stumps still down and things, but it's not.
You can't compare it to North City. You can't compare anywhere in St. Louis to North City.
Yeah.
I was going down Union, and I saw some of those houses you're talking about, the bigger multi-million-dollar homes. I'm like, oh, they're still like got the tarps or missing windows. And then I was talking to someone yesterday about it, and something clicked in my head, because I'm like, oh, they're in the same boat as those people who are a few blocks up with the more lower income homes. But they're like, no, those people's homes aren't done because they're waiting for a special roofing
contract. Yeah,
they're waiting for a custom window to be built. Like they would be back to where they are, but they're waiting for their stained glass to be redone. And I'm like, oh, they aren't in the same boat. There isn't a comparison.
There is not. I don't even like to speak of the two in the same sentence. Like, you just really can't compare the two whatsoever.
Yeah, for sure. North City is and again, part of that is because North City was already so disinvested in. There were so many spaces where it was very clear that we haven't held people accountable for taking care of their property, for being good landlords, for, upkeeping parks and doing the things that need to be done in these spaces. And so when something is already not invested in, and then a tornado literally rips it apart, it's going, you already didn't care. And so now we have to care like at a magnitude that you all aren't ready to work at.
Yeah.
Right.
Real quick, guys, did you know it can cost up to 7 times more to find a new donor than to keep one you already have? That's why at Comfy Stone, we created a free 90-day donor retention checklist. It's simple, step-by-step guide that shows you exactly what to do after someone donates. From how to thank them to how to tell stories that keep them engaged and giving all year long. You can grab your free copy at comfystone.com/checklist or click the link in our show notes. All right, let's get back to the show. So we've talked a lot about what you guys have done up to this point to support those residents. How is your work now shifting now that we're a year plus since the tornado?
Yeah, so we originally started off as just doing like a lot of little things, like purchasing phones so that people could be in contact with their family and delivering hot meals and stuff like that, rental assistance. And now we've transitioned into restoration projects, and we just demolished a home and we're about to start a rebuild. So we've transitioned a lot within the year. Yeah.
And I think that transition, we are very flexible and adaptable people. We have a board of wonderful, again, volunteers who are really wanting to do this work, but we've shifted because we've had to. We are a nonprofit because we had to be. We did not set out to create a nonprofit and like do this thing. We had to do it because the city wasn't stepping up. Nobody was, not just the city. They get a lot of blame, as they should, but the state didn't step up. The federal government hasn't stepped up either. No one has stepped up. And so we have transitioned because we have to, and we will keep doing that as best as we can. And so we are moving slowly because, again, we are a group of volunteers who are just trying to figure it out. But that slowness is also intentional. We work very intentionally with our residents. We try to find volunteers and people that will donate things from landscaping to windows, right? We are really trying our best to not overwork ourselves in a way, even though we're kind of doing that.
We're absolutely doing that.
But we kind of have to in a way, because while it doesn't feel as emergent to anybody anymore, and it may not be as much of an emergency, nobody deserves to not be in their home. Nobody deserves to not have a home, but nobody deserves to not be in their home. And so it is still an emergency to us. It is still at the top of our list when we're thinking about what's important. And so for St. Louisans right now, when it comes to the mayor and the police board arguing about RAM settlement money and who gets more money and whose salaries get raised, we have people that are couch surfing because they just want to be back in their home. We just got reached out to by a resident that we used to support saying, I was okay, but now my house won't be ready till November, and now I'm getting kicked out of my apartment and I need some support, right? And so it is... They are always going to still need support, right? Because they already weren't supported.
Yeah.
And so we are going to keep transitioning, but we're also going to keep holding people accountable. And we're going to keep advocating that people need to do more. But we are rebuilding right now. Like, we're trying to help people rebuild. We still get inquiries on our website from people that are saying, like, can you help us? Can you support? Is there a way you can show up for us? And we put them on our list and we do what we can. But it's a lot of work, and it can be really taxing and draining work.
It is, yeah. But I'm so thankful that you guys are out here doing this because, I mean, these residents don't have what should be the government support on a local, state, federal level. And, like, I want to be like, it's sad that doesn't exist, but also just so thankful that we as a community can that there's always going to be people who are like, you know what? I'm going to fill in that need. You know, I'm going to make sure someone in my community is taken care of. I just remember something else I wanted to talk about when we talk about city versus county. What also just happening, I feel like, is not looking at things regionally. You know, it's not in my backyard. You know, I don't go to North City very often, so like I don't have to think about that. And realizing that, man, as residents of Missouri, as residents of St. Louis, of greater St. Louis, like, we're all in this together. And that we should be out here taking care of each other, because also you never know when the shoe's on the other foot.
Yeah. And I've always, it's hard, I think, just in humanity, right? I think a lot of people are, until it happens to me or someone that I really, really care about, I don't know that I can put that much energy and effort into caring about it. And that is hard. I get it. There's a lot of stuff to care about in the world, and it can get really overwhelming. But I think the thing that Ginelle really highlighted for me is somebody who has always wanted to try to get out there more and do more, but isn't. I'm not bad at boots on the ground, but I'm not that great at it. But as someone who really didn't know how to show up, she made it extremely accessible, whether it was like, I can definitely send some money today. I can definitely come down there on my lunch break and do this thing. Because sometimes people think that it has to be so much bigger, right? That I have to be able to save the entire world. And the reality is, if any of us could save the entire world, we would have done that already.
Yeah.
Right. But if this is your world, like you're saying, if St. Louis is your world right now, what is stopping you from caring about all of it and wanting all of it to thrive? Because if that happens, then the quote-unquote safety concerns you claim you have disappear, and the quote-unquote inequities that literally exist start to disappear.
Yeah.
And the public transportation gets better, and we feel better about going to all the parts of our city. But if you don't invest in it and you don't care because you don't know those people. We didn't know any of these people a year ago. Any of the residents that we are working with did not know us. And I don't think Ginelle could imagine her life without any of those people now, or without some of the people that we've met on our board.
Absolutely.
Because she chose to show up And I know she sometimes feels however she feels about the fact that she only had water bottles and trash bags.
I almost didn't even get out of my car because like when I went out there to see it, it was just like an unreal, it was like a movie. It was like something I had never seen before. Just people sitting on their porches with so much debris in front of their homes and just like looking like, what am I going to do? Who is going to come help me? And I just know like, I feel like I've felt those same emotions too, and I just couldn't let them carry that burden alone. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to get out and fill these trash bags and just do what I can because those little things, they do matter. And I think it was really important for me to just be super active on social media and show the people like, yeah, this is a small gesture or act of kindness, but it matters to the people because if I had not gotten out of my car, I don't know. Yeah, but it's just something I just could not turn a blind eye to. I don't think I slept for like the next 45 days probably. I was just very traumatized, and I don't even like to speak about how traumatized I was because I don't want to take away from their trauma. But I've had a very hard, traumatizing like year. I will never be the same after seeing that. And it's really important for me to just get people out there to see the devastation because I feel like if you get out there and see it, then you'll want to get involved in it. And we have had a lot of people who have probably never stepped foot in North City, like she said, be out there because of me. I hate to say that, but because of me, really.
She hates to say it, but it is because,
because of you.
Yeah.
It's because of your decision to get out of that car, even though you thought that wasn't enough.
Oh, I was so embarrassed. I was like crying in my car. I was like, I cannot get out with
and
these
it's a
icy
reminder
waters.
that the little things that we do are enough.
Yeah, they are.
That single tiny act of kindness, getting out of your car with a couple trash bags and a couple bottles of water has snowball effect into this beautiful thing. And like how many people now show up to continue to care for North City.
Sure.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. That's for sure.
So what are Grassroots Redeeming Love's biggest needs right now?
Money, child. Out there listening.
Definitely funds. This work that we've transitioned into, like we're not just filling dumpsters anymore. We're rebuilding homes and restoring homes. We just finished a $96,000 project and we just committed to a $350,000 project. So funds right now are our biggest need. And if you can't give funds, selfless servants are our next biggest need. And if you can't get out there and volunteer when it comes to picking up debris or clearing out these homes, we also offer labors of love is what we call it. And you can do anything from like calling a resident to see how they're doing or visit with one of the elderly and sit with them just to hear them and listen to them, or you can go get groceries for a family for a week. You can pay a cell phone bill or rent for a month. Just there's so many little things you can do. Like we ran out of trash bags like a month ago at one of our sites, and like you can donate $5 to help us get trash bags. Like just any little thing, all the little things. But just help however you can, whenever you can. That's our biggest ask, I feel like.
Yeah, and if you are a St. Louisan, a Missourian, and none of those things feel like things you want to do, we're in an election year, and voting for people is always going to be really important.
Absolutely.
People who want to advocate for our rights and our needs, and not just North City, especially North City, but like all of St. Louis and honestly all of Missouri, because like we just deserve people showing up for us. Like if that's what they're supposed to do, if that's the job they're signing up for, then it's important that they show up for us, right? Like if you know that we don't want to be those people, we're not running for nothing.
No, I would never run.
And so if that's what they're choosing to do, it's important that we're picking people that are going to show up and make St. Louis a better place.
Yeah.
I love labors of love.
Me too.
That is, and again, meeting people where you can support these other residents. It doesn't have to be picking up all this debris. It could just be giving someone a call. Taking your lunch break and calling someone, just being like, I just want to make sure you're not forgotten. You're cared for. Like, here's a space to vent. Maybe you just want to yap, or maybe you just want to.
The biggest difference. And if you don't know how to get involved and you want to get involved, just ask us. Last summer, we had a media company reach out, and they were like, our office like wants to get involved really bad in the work that you're doing. We just don't know how. Like some people, he was like, we hate to say, like, aren't probably comfortable coming out there, or they just didn't know where to find the time to do it. And I was just like, I mean, you can donate if you want to. And they decided to donate a $20,000 website to our organization and help get a home for us on the internet, which has helped lead to so many donations and volunteers. So I just say, give what you can. Like, if you own a hardware store, like, donate some, I don't know, just give however you can. There's so many ways to give, and everyone is capable of giving in some capacity.
Yes. So what I'm hearing is they can get creative. Just reach out.
Yeah, we can get creative.
Don't let time, resources, or anything make you feel like you're limited on what you can do to support this organization. Just reach out.
Getting the word out is always a great way, because I know you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're such a new organization, like less than a year old. So yeah, we're doing big things though, but we definitely need the funds to continue this work. We can't continue without the funds.
Yeah.
So how can people find you guys on social media, online? Where's the best way to look for you?
Our website is www.redeeminglove-stl.org. And then we're on Facebook at Grassroots Redeeming Love. And we're on Instagram at redeeminglove.stl.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this information and joining us today.
Thank you, Maya,
for having
us.
us.
If what we talked about today resonated with you and you'd like to get involved with North City's recovery, you can reach out to Grassroots Redeeming Love at their website, redeeminglove-stl.org. There you can find information on other organizations also helping the community, like Action STL, St. Louis Disaster Recovery Centers, Operation Food Search, and many more. Thanks for watching this episode. Thanks for listening to Missions Bayou, powered by Comfy Stone. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow the podcast wherever you listen. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and drop a comment, letting us know your thoughts and who you'd like to hear from next. We'll see y'all next time.